What do you want Washingtonians to take away from your visit, who may just say, oh, it's just another politician here?
Well, look, I always believe that good policy is good politics anyway. We're here because there's good policy going on. And by the way, it's not everything has to be political. Quite a few Republicans crossed the aisle to vote with Democrats to get this legislation done. And the result is what I really want people to understand. The fact that we are going to continue making improvements. We've already put out a number of grants, from helping make improvements at the airport, Seattle-Tacoma Airport, to getting the West Seattle Bridge up and running. We're able to support that. Investments and grants that we're making, from a new ferry going up to Lummi Island to things we're doing in central eastern Washington, Wenatchee and Spokane. These are real concrete improvements that are going to make your life better, your commute better, your supply chains better. And it doesn't matter if you're left, right, or center politically. This is the right thing to do for our economy and for our country.
I want to talk about some of the issues that you have been talking about this trip. Electric vehicles. Have you ever owned an electric vehicle yourself?
Yeah, so I reluctantly became a minivan person once Chasten and I became dads. Like I'm sure many people in our generation swore we'd never do that, and then it's been the right answer. So we have a plug-in minivan, so the way hybrid. So it's electric for the first 30, 40 miles. We plug it in the garage, and then if it needs to, it'll switch over to gas. It's been a great benefit to us. We're trying to make sure that EVs are cheaper and more accessible for all Americans, because we know that you can save money if you're able to own one. And of course, it's an important part of the fight against climate change.
I drove my Leaf up here this morning. I only live about 35 miles away, but I have that anxiety. I got to figure out, where do I plug it in to get home? We keep hearing about all these charging stations, and if I don't have a Tesla, it's even that much harder to find these stations. What can be done to make that part of it easier? Because if somebody asks me, I'll say I love it, but it's hard to find a charger when you're on the road.
Yeah, so part of this transition is we've got to make it as easy to charge your car as it is to fill up at a gas station. And that's one of the reasons why in this infrastructure package, we have funding to make sure there is a national network of chargers, that you never go more than 50 miles on our highway network without having chargers, and that we have more chargers in communities, so that if you live in an apartment building, for example, and you don't have a house where you can just plug it in the garage, that you have a good option to charge. The truth is, it's just different than filling up on gas. In some ways, it's easier, because there are ways to often charge a vehicle at your home or at your workplace. On the other hand, it's harder in other ways, because we don't have as many chargers as we have gas stations, and because it takes a little bit longer to get a car to a full charge than it does at the pump.
We're talking about 10 years down the road, or less than that, all electric cars. Can the grid handle it? We've heard that concern. We've heard about California. Can we handle everybody plugging their car in at night?
Well, there's no way that we can run the cars of the future on the electrical system of the past. It's one of the reasons why the infrastructure law also includes a lot of improvements for our electrical grid. And the end result will be more efficient and more resilient. But we got to get from here to there, and that's going to take a lot of work, a lot of investment. But getting it right is also going to create a lot of jobs.
The advantage to an EV is you don't have to pay the gas prices. I don't have to tell you, you may have seen it on the way here. It's hard to find anything under $5 a gallon on this side of the state, the West Coast especially. What's wrong? And why can't your administration do more to get those prices down? We talked about a gas holiday. That didn't happen. What needs to happen to make it affordable to drive our roads?
Yeah, so the president's taken a number of steps to try to lower oil and gas prices, releasing oil from the strategic oil reserve, flexibility around ethanol, working with other countries. But fundamentally, the thing about oil is that it is priced based on global markets, and a lot of that is based on decisions that are made in countries like Saudi Arabia. And this is one of the problems with depending on a source of fuel that is largely made in countries that don't have our best interest at heart. Now, more domestic energy is being produced under President Biden than ever before, but we need to make sure that we're dealing with both the short-term and the long-term solutions when it comes to energy. We have a vision for the future, but today, most people don't have an electric vehicle. That's why gas prices are so important. And while I think most people know and understand that no political actor in the United States gets to decide gas prices, it's not like the oil company is, when they're setting the prices for the next hour of what we're going to pay, is calling the president to check what they ought to be. There are some things that we can do, and we're doing them aggressively.
Should we just get used to $5 a gallon though? Is that the new normal?
We've got to keep pushing these oil and gas prices down. It's why you're seeing more action with the oil reserve. Also, the president and the administration were calling attention to the fact that there's a bigger spread right now between the price of oil and the price of gas than normal, and that's going right into the pockets of oil executives. So companies need to be accountable. Government needs to do everything in our power, and we need to have a long-term vision where domestic clean energy, where you don't have to care anymore about what somebody's doing in the Middle East. That's the long-term solution for our energy needs.
Is that gas tax holiday idea something that will come up again? Can it come up again? Obviously.
Well, yeah, the president's called for a gas tax holiday. It's certainly something that would take the edge off, and so far the people who could implement that have decided not to move in that direction, but it's still something that I think needs to be considered.
All right, I know when you finish with us here, or some point today, you're flying back to D.C. Are you flying out of Sea-Tac?
I am, yeah.
You're going to go through the TSA lines? Have you heard about the mess that we've seen at Sea-Tac?
Yeah, I saw the pictures, and this is one thing I want to emphasize, that we are investing in airport terminals across the country, including improvements in spaces where passengers go through for security, checkpoints, what goes on in baggage claim, even really basic things like escalators, elevators, bathrooms. Right now we're improving the bathrooms at Sea-Tac because we see the need at airports across America. And so it's one of the many things that we're able to support more now that we have this infrastructure package going through. And look, it's a great thing that more people want to be flying again. It shows that the income is back and that people are taking trips that maybe were delayed over the last couple of years. But the system's got to be ready to handle that. And clearly we've seen a system that is just bursting at the seams in terms of the ability to move passengers through airports and get them to where they need to be.
Could we hire some more TSA agents? Wouldn't that help to alleviate it's 2-hour lines in some cases? People were saying, I'm not going to come back to Seattle because of the airport mess.
Yeah, there's a combination of things. Part of it has to do with staffing. Part of it has to do with the physical space. Often the airport's terminals we have now were not built for the kind of passenger flow we have now. So the answer will be different in each airport, but we're going to work with each airport to try to get them the resources that they need.
And Thanksgiving's coming. I think we're right now kind of in a lull, but for folks who are going to be traveling again, when the weather turns, what advice are you giving? What should travelers know? Because I don't think any of these problems are going to be fixed in 6 weeks.
Well, the first thing passengers need to know is that our department has your back. You can go to our website right now, see a comparison of how different airlines treat their passengers if you have a situation like a change, a cancellation, or a delay. And we encourage people to learn about that before you make a decision to buy a ticket. Also, know your rights. Know that you're entitled to certain protections or refunds if, for example, your flight gets canceled or there's a delay that's the airline's fault. And if the airline doesn't take care of you can file a complaint with us and we will follow up and enforce that. We're taking more steps to make sure passengers have a better experience because airlines need to be prepared to service the tickets that they sell and to deliver a better experience. We saw terrible delays and cancellations, especially early in the summer. The cancellation rates are back at more of what we would consider a normal level now, but I'm watching closely as we move into that holiday season and we see that level of demand pick up going into Thanksgiving and the winter holidays.
High-speed rail. Our governor's a big fan of it. The state legislature set aside $150 million to study it, hoping to get some of that federal funding. Don't we need to work on the existing rails that we have? The eastern side of our state does not get the service that a lot of folks think they deserve. Our lines here have not been improved much. Why do we focus on high speed and not what we already have?
Well, I don't think we have to pit one mode of transportation against another. There is a lot of investment in the president's package toward improving our existing rail network. It's important for supply chains because we need freight moving smoothly, and it's important for passengers, and we deserve better passenger rail in this country. But for the long run, we also do need to be preparing and investing in high speed because that's the standard that most people in developed countries are getting used to. It makes no sense to me why Americans should settle for a standard of speed and convenience on the rails that's inferior to what a citizen could expect if they live in Germany or Japan or Italy or even Turkey or Morocco. We should have the best in America when it comes to any form of infrastructure. And that's the long-term vision we have for rail, even while in the near term, we're really focused on taking care of what we've got in a state of good repair.
Don't people like their cars in this country? I mean, isn't that that's an American way to take the highway? And trains really haven't, especially here on the West Coast, haven't shined like they do in
Well, you get what you pay for, and we've underinvested in our rail networks for a long time. But we know that when you have excellent passenger rail, that unlocks economic opportunity. And again, this doesn't have to be an either or. Just because we have excellent roads and highways and bridges, which is what we're building on the surface side and the road side here, doesn't mean we should settle for substandard passenger rail service. We ought to have all of the above. Same thing with transit. When you have excellent transit options, that is full of benefits economically, in terms of safety, in terms of climate. It even benefits people who don't use transit because it means less congestion on the roads for people who are driving.
I know you can't talk politics, but people are going to be yelling at their TVs. I wish you would ask him. So I have to ask you, are you going to run for president again? Are you going to run in 2024? You're the most visible transportation secretary in a long time, arguably the most visible member of the current administration.
So as you can tell with all the work that we're doing, I've got my hands completely full. And when you look at the responsibilities and the opportunities that the president has asked me and our department to take on, improving our road system, fixing bridges, getting our airports, ports, rail, and everything else back up and running, that's enough to take 110% of my time and attention. And I'm sure the politics will work themselves out in the future.
And I know there's still some discretionary grants that need to be awarded. Any secrets you can let us in on? Is the state of Washington going to get a nice little package for the holidays or sooner?
Well, I'll tell you, the state of Washington has done very well so far in these discretionary grant programs, and those are based on merit. They're based on the applications that come in, and we saw just very convincing and compelling applications from here with a lot of support on everything from that ferry system for Lumley Island, where they need a new boat, to making sure that we upgrade some of the roads and bridges in this area. Linwood's getting some improvements that are going to help with traffic there. And so, look, there's always more requests than we can say yes to, but we're able to say yes more than ever, thanks to this bipartisan infrastructure package that by the way, never would have happened without the leadership of a lot of people from Washington State, members of the House, both senators, Senator Murray and Senator Cantwell, big parts of getting that done. And we're excited about what that's going to deliver, because we're wrapping up just the first year out of 5 on those investments.
I asked you what you want Washingtonians to take away from this trip. What are you taking away? You haven't spent a lot of time in this state. What on the flight home will you be thinking about?
Well, I'm looking forward to taking some of the stories that I heard here in Washington State back with me, whether it's the workers here at this port who get everything where it needs to be, and most people don't really think much about that work, or the apple and cherry growers that I met in Wenatchee talking about what they need in order to be able to export their products, have these amazing tree fruits that come out of Washington State going out to the world, and having the income from that come here into America and help build livelihoods and communities. I'm going to be thinking about the workforce conversations we had yesterday, creating more good-paying construction jobs and getting people into it who maybe haven't been involved in construction in the past. A lot of workers who, including a lot of women, who have great opportunities for them. We got to make it a little easier, though, to get those jobs. And those are just a few of the things that I'll be thinking about on the flight out from Sea-Tac, and as I head back into Washington, the other Washington, to do some of the work that's ahead.
All right. Well, good luck getting through security. Hopefully you can be streamlined through there, because I know it's not the case for a lot of folks. So thanks so much.
Thank you.
Appreciate you making time for us.
Likewise.